Hello my dear friends, you're in the Military Summary channel, and today we will discuss the situation in Ukraine on the 5th of July of 2024. Today we have a lot of very interesting updates, so let's start. And the most important update that we received during the previous 24 hours is the visit of the Prime Minister of Hungary, Viktor Orban, in Russia. He visited Russia with official visit, and it was a very interesting event because the European Union, the European authorities, when they discovered about the visit of Viktor Orban, they told that they had nothing about this and they had nothing with this, and there was a very short negotiation process between the Viktor Orban, the Prime Minister of Hungary, and Vladimir Putin, the President of Russian Federation. Of course, they were talking about Ukraine. We don't know for sure what they were talking about, but after the negotiations, they gave us a lot of statements and a lot of very interesting things. First of all, we got that Putin told us to end the Ukrainian conflict, Kiev is obliged to completely withdraw its troops from the territories of Donbass and Novorossiya. That was stated by Putin. I'll remind you that the territory that is for right now on the map is colored with the black color is the territory that Ukrainians should withdraw according to Putin's statement and according to Putin's peace plan. As for Viktor Orban, the Prime Minister of Hungary, he also gave us a lot of very interesting reports. He told that that peace in Ukraine must be concluded. That was stated by him. These two statements probably the most important. We have lots of different things, and the most important that Putin was talking about Europe, about Ukraine, about who has legal power in Ukraine. Putin was talking about Ukraine Parliament. If you remember a few days ago, he was talking that Ukraine Parliament had legal power, but today he stated that Ukraine Parliament doesn't have any legal power because the Parliament is in the complete control of Zelensky and his crew and his people and his team, so which means that the Parliament has no legal power at all. Also, according to Putin, the Russians are ready to sign peace agreement to stop clashes, to stop war in the line of combat contact, but only after the Ukrainians will follow and complete every single demand from the Russian side. And you know that this is very important visit because we understand that right now guns and missiles, rockets is not so important. Of course, they are very important, and we're going to see a lots of events and lots of activities during the next few days. But today, right now, exactly on the 5th of July, diplomacy was the main weapon of everybody. While the Russians had meetings with Orban, of course, Zelensky also was trying to get as many as possible from this situation. And for example, on the same time, on the other hand, the same time, while there was a meeting between Orban and Putin, Zelensky reported that Kiev wants to receive promises that Ukraine will become a NATO member at the Alliance Summit in Washington on July 9th, 11. So this is something like a blackmail. This is something like ultimatum from Ukrainian side. And they're like trying to say that if you are not going to give us promises, then probably we will sign a peace agreement with Russian Federation. And on the other hand, we continue receiving lots of updates from the Western countries. For example, from Stoltenberg, he reported that Ukrainians probably will become members of NATO by 2032-34, which obviously is not very good for Ukrainian side. So now the main important event is NATO summit in Washington. For now, neither Russians nor Viktor Orban know for sure what exactly the Western countries and Zelensky are going to sign, what kind of promises the Western countries are going to give to Ukraine itself. But we understand a few important things that I would like to point your attention. First of all, is that Zelensky plays his own game. Putin, Orban plays their own game. Western countries are planning their own game. Zelensky wants to finish to complete at least one promise that he gave to Ukrainians before his president elections. Bright future in European Union and NATO. He just wants to do this because, as Putin told, if Ukraine and martial law, and martial law, then Zelensky has no chances to become president once again. And Zelensky understands this, that he can't end martial law, and he wants to finish these things, finish the special military operation while he is still in charge, while he is still the president of Ukraine. We understand the plans of Putin. He wants to get as many as possible. He wants Ukraine to be neutral, no NATO, no European Union, and of course we understand the interests of of the Western countries to earn as much as possible money, to weaken the Russians as much as possible as well. But I would like to point your attention to another important fact. Let's say in 2022, when the special military operation started, the coalition of Western countries, not Western countries, of Western leaders, has almost completely been changed since that moment. Today, for example, we got report that Rishi Sunak and his party were completely defeated during the United Kingdom Parliament elections. His Conservative Party got just 131 seats, so it's disaster. And obviously, he was already replaced, and we will adjust the map. We will add another prime minister to United Kingdom, because now we have another person. We know that Macron was also completely defeated in France, and for example, today Marine Le Pen said that if she wins the election, the prime minister from her national rally will block the sending of French troops to Ukraine. Olaf Scholz, the Chancellor of Germany, also was completely defeated during the elections in Germany. And of course, we understand that most likely Joe Biden would be defeated as well during the United States November elections. So summarizing everything, in half a year in Europe, in the world, there are going to be nobody will be, let's say, on Zelensky's side who was in 2022. And there are going to be lots of people in European countries who will not understand what are they fighting for with the Russians, why they are not building good relations with Russians, why they are not earning money altogether, but why are they fighting with Russia. They will not understand this, and Zelensky understands this well, so that's why he knows that he needs to resolve everything right now, today. And of course, he wants to get as good as better position before the negotiations. So we have discussed just three parties: Russia, Ukraine, Western countries. Everybody plays his own game. Of course, it's the mass. It's a puzzle of three bodies. It's very difficult to understand the schema of this, how these all three bodies are going to work. But we need to remember, and we discussed a few days ago about another important, the fourth party in the conflict. It's not Russia, it's not Ukraine, it's not Western countries, it's not China, it's not anyone else. I'm talking about fourth side of the conflict, which is very powerful and very important, and we need to always remember about them when talking about peace agreement in Ukraine. And of course, we are talking about the 12th separate purpose brigade Azov. If you remember, a few days ago we were talking about them, and I told you that I had a feeling, it was probably a few days ago, that something big is going to happen, going to happen in Ukraine, and this 12th Special Purpose Brigade Azov will be in charge or in core or in the base of these big events. Because I'll remind you that if Zelensky at some point of time decide to start negotiation process or to stop war with the Russians, this brigade will make obviously in a second the military coup and will take power in Ukraine, by saying that Zelensky is no longer a legal president because his terms were ended in May, 31st of May. So from now on, he's no more president. So we will try to restore the constitutional order in Ukraine. We will start president elections, because at least even from this perspective, everybody in Ukraine can do like this, and they will be right and they will be completely correct, because people all over the entire territory of Ukraine, they don't trust Zelensky anymore. And also this information was confirmed by Vladimir Putin. And know that this is a very funny situation, because if you remember a few days ago, Putin suggested Ukrainians, not just suggested, he told them that after the Zelensky terms expired, they needed to go to constitutional court to get some approvals that everything is okay and Zelensky can continue being the president. But for some reason, Ukrainians decided not to do this, saying that we trust that Zelensky is president, so we don't need any approval. So they saw that advice from Putin completely in another way. You know that even to compare this a very simple but very smart suggestion from Vladimir Putin, now Zelensky, you have prolonged your own terms by yourself. So you are the person who is responsible for your present term, and you can do this whatever you like and when you like. But this is not very good for everybody, right? So that's why Putin suggested you to go to constitutional court to get some papers from them. And in this case, you will not be responsible for this, because in this case, the constitutional constitutional court would be responsible for your president term. They would, let's say, elect you as a president, but not yourself. So I don't know, maybe Zelensky soon will understand this, because sooner or later he gonna need to start negotiation process with Russia, but without all these papers, without this legal approval, the Russians will not start will not start anything with him. So this is the current situation in all these schemes, all these political games. Once again, I suggest to us to follow 12 Special Purpose Brigade Azov, because once again they will be in core of future events. First of all, they are supported by the United States of America. They start receiving weapons from the Western countries, and nobody in Kiev know for sure how many and what's exactly this brigade received during this or that or the previous months, or are going to receive, because they are no longer under control of Zelensky. They will never under control of Zelensky. And of course, we're not talking about the future situation. Now let's move to the situation on the ground. We have additional updates and very important things on the ground. According to information we have, the Russians have improved their positions in the northern part of Novomikhailivka, and we had the video of how the Ukrainians were FPV droning the Russians, how they managed to discover another tank, abandoned tank, and to destroy it. And most of the mappers have adjusted their map based on this video. Now let's move to the western Avdiivka direction. As you can see, we have significant number of geolocations of how the Russians were hunting and destroying Ukraine armored vehicles, personal carriers, and many other different types of weapons. Summarizing everything, we can make a conclusion that the Ukrainians start running away from their positions. As you can see, all these videos show us just one thing: how the Ukrainians were moving from the eastern parts towards the western part. If correct me if I'm wrong, if you have access to the map, you can take a look, but probably I haven't found even a single video where the Ukrainians were moving from the west to the line of combat contact. Most of the videos are how the Ukrainians were running away from their positions. So as I understand and as I see, most likely the front line was collapsed by the Russians. The front line collapsed in this area. The Ukrainians were defeated, and now they're trying to evacuate and basically to save their lives. As I understand, during the next few days, if nothing changes, we're going to see significant number of updates and additional progress of the armored forces of Russian Federation, including in Novoselovka Persha, Progress, and in every single town and settlement in this direction. Now let's move to Toretsk, and we got a lot of very interesting details. As you can see, we have adjusted the map. I have already discussed this in the previous video. The Russians captured the first buildings, and we have geolocation confirming this. The Ukrainian soldier was attacking the Russian forces in the, let's say, opposite building. The video was geolocated immediately. The Ukrainian soldier was located in the building under the number of 20 along the University Street, and the Russian soldiers were located in the building number 31 or 21 on the same street, University Street. So the Ukrainians and the Russians were attacking each other. This report we got yesterday in the evening, so probably during the previous 24 hours, the Russians managed to improve their positions even more. We start receiving first updates about complete defeat and destroyed brigades and battalions. First battalion, 206 battalion, was completely destroyed as a result of clashes and Russian breakthrough in New York. So they lost up to from 200 to 300 soldiers just during 2-3 days. Also, we got another video. In this video that was published by the 95th Brigade, we can see how the Russians were fighting with this brigade along the Kalinova Street. This video confirms additional Russian progress. Also, this is a very important statement, a very important video, because in this video we can see that Ukrainians were forced to redeploy the forces of 95th Brigade in this direction just for stabilization. So that's why the Ukrainians were forced to take them from one direction and to move them here. And of course, this is very important. Now let's move to Chasiv Yar. After a very short operational pause, the Russians resumed their offensive. Today we got significant number of videos of how the Russians were bombing the central part, the western part of Chasiv Yar. Lots of videos, a lot of strikes, artillery, FABs, and different types of weapon. The Ukrainians suffer significant losses, and this video tells us first of all that probably the Russians are not going to attack Chasiv Yar from the northern flank or from the southern flank. According to videos, episodes we see, the Russians probably were going to attack from from this area toward the central, trying to cross and just to break through everything with a very powerful and massive attack. Another important statement, we'll return back while this video goes to the political events. Even if Zelensky are able to find a solution how to handle with 12 Special Purpose Brigade Azov, even if Army of Ukraine supports Zelensky himself, and even if Zelensky tomorrow decide to start negotiations negotiation process, he has two options. First of all, or to end martial law, the first thing, or to go to the constitutional court and to get legal obligation, legal paper that he is a real president and he can continue being a president during the martial time, martial, let's say, law. And you know, that's a very important thing. For example, if you remember, the last time Zelensky extended martial law took place in May. So on the 15th probably of May, this martial law was extended. And when the last time Ukrainians extended martial law, Zelensky was a real president. His terms ended in the end of May, and he extended the martial law as a president, not like a fake president or expired president, as a real president. But now, as I remember, the martial law was extended for 90 days or 60 or 90, I don't remember for sure. And summarizing everything, if the martial law was extended for 90 days, the next time the martial law, this period of time will be ended in August. So, and if Zelensky is going to extend martial law once again, he will extend the next time as a expired president, as nobody in Ukraine. And this is a very important thing for him, and this is very important for Russia, and this is important why he needs to go to the main court of Ukraine and to get the real papers that he is a president and he can do this, not because, let's say, to play in Russian game or to play in Western games. He needs to take responsibility from himself and to put this responsibility on Ukrainian court. I'm not sure, I don't know why Zelensky is not doing this. This very smart step, this very smart way, but for some reason he's not doing like this. Now let's move to the northern Kupiansk direction, to Kharkiv area more precisely. We got a lot of very heavy clashes in this area as well, but the most important update was discussed in the previous video, that the Russians managed to improve their positions in the forest. They captured some first tree lines, some first let's say blocks of the forest, and they continue advancing further, and most likely during the next few days we're going to start receiving first geolocations and first updates from this direction, and we will color this territory appropriately according to upcoming videos and something like this. As for important things from this area as well, today we got report that the 14th Mechanized Brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine was also completely destroyed in the battles for northern Kupiansk, and today we start receiving significantly lots of updates about the situation with 92nd Assault Brigade that was also completely destroyed in the vicinity of Gluboka. We have a lot of photos, chats, messages in the social networks of Ukraine, how they were trying to search their people, and most of soldiers of this brigade were completely destroyed in the vicinity of the village by the name of Gluboka. The Russians managed to repel every single attack, and now it's I don't know what the Ukrainians are planning to do. Just during the previous day, the Ukrainians, we received 4 reports about 4 destroyed brigades: 14th, 92nd, 206th Battalion, and that Ukrainians were forced to redeploy 95th Brigade in the vicinity of Toretsk, which also means that soon this brigade will be destroyed as well. And that's it for today. Military Summary channel reminds to condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.